There can be only one.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about the new Studio Canal / Lionsgate 4K release of Highlander. Now, before we do that, if you guys are into 4K reviews, movie reviews, some video game stuff, and some tech along the way, then please consider subscribing because we do all that here. So Highlander was originally released in 1996, directed by Russell Mulcahy, coming in at approximately 117 minutes. Now, admittedly, this is my first time seeing Highlander. I know it's a very popular movie, and somehow it just slipped through the cracks for me. You know, this is my type of movie. This is what I would define as a matte movie, although I didn't absolutely love it. Now, John might like this movie also. He was going to review it with me, but there can only be one. So anyway, Highlander is I guess we would say science fiction movie, you know, because they play with time travel and immortality, and as far as I know, that stuff just is not real. So the gist of the movie is there is a group of immortals, and they are, you know, I wouldn't say gods, but they have immortality, and every certain amount of years they have to fight each other to be the only one. I don't know exactly. They could just kind of hang out, they're friends, and then they have to fight each other to only be one. That's where it got a little confusing. I found this movie to be a little bit all over the place. Basically, this guy, main character played by Christopher Lambert, his original name was Connor MacLeod, and he was part of the Highlander tribe, group, clan, whatever you want to call it, and he was born in like the 1500s or something like that. So he's been going throughout the centuries, living his life of immortality. He's married a few times, he's had a few wives. They can't have children, and he's just been kind of living his life going throughout the centuries, and you know, they showed some flashbacks. It looks like he was having some fun, and then eventually Sean Connery's character befriends him and kind of teaches him, basically just shows him the way of being immortal, because he's an immortal too. Yeah, they don't really explain exactly why they're immortal. Then the enemy Kurgan, played by Clancy Brown, which was awesome in this role, by the way. And he, you know what, he kind of gave me like Terminator vibes with the way he was dressed up in like all this leather and chains and the black hair. Specifically, like when he was in the hotel, when he's walking out of the hotel, it was just giving me like early Terminator 1 Schwarzenegger vibes for some reason. I don't know why. Because, I mean, it's a little like Terminator, and then Christopher Lambert's character, you could argue it would be like the Kyle Reese kind of the story. So you can make a kind of connection there, because Terminator is my favorite movie, and I kept getting Terminator vibes with this. Basically, they're the last two immortals, and they need to basically fight for the prize of immortality. Now, the immortals can only be killed by decapitation. I'm not sure why that's what they chose. I guess it makes sense, you know, because he's been getting stabbed like a pincushion throughout history, and getting shot doesn't do anything. He can't drown because Sean Connery tried to teach him how to swim, and he ended up just walking out, like, because he couldn't swim. He just walked on the bottom of the water, and because I guess he's just extremely heavy. I'm not entirely sure how that made sense. Anyway, so Clancy Brown's character is basically hunting Christopher Lambert's character throughout the movie, and that's where I kind of got the Terminator connection, besides the way he dressed. And that scene in the church was really cool. I really liked what Clancy Brown did there.
Happy Halloween, ladies. Nuns. No sense of humor.
Really nailed that role. I think that was perfect casting for this role. So these two basically are just going back and forth throughout the years and throughout the century, and now this is their final standoff in present time at the time in New York City, which was awesome. You know, it just got that gritty, dirty New York look to it. And one thing I wanted to point out is when they're driving in the cars in New York City, like, they're doing like 50, 60, 70 miles an hour. Now, I'm not from New York City. I live about 45 minutes to an hour from the city, and I go there for work sometimes. At no point are you ever doing over like 20 miles an hour in the city. That's insane. I think that's the most fantasy part about this movie, is how fast they're driving through the city, because that's wild, and that does not happen anymore. But anyway, it's always cool to see that they're in the Madison Square Garden. Also, there was a quick I don't know if it's a cameo, but Michael Hayes, I don't know if you remember him. He was with WWF, and I remember him as being the Hardy Boys manager, but in the beginning of the movie there was a wrestling scene which still kind of didn't really make any sense because Christopher Lambert's character was just sitting in the audience. I don't know if he was just there for entertainment, but there was a big wrestling scene in the beginning, and Michael Hayes was I guess the kind of the star of the show there, and it was pretty cool to see because I didn't understand who that was at first, and then it finally clicked. I was like, oh shit, that's a young Michael Hayes. And I just know him from hanging out with the Hardy Boys. So these guys go back and forth for a while. Christopher Lambert's character finally kills Kurgan, which is Clancy Brown's character. And then the movie just kind of ends. I liked it. I enjoyed the ride.
It won the Academy Award.
Oh, for what?
For best movie ever made.
But I'm still a bit confused on what I actually just saw, so I am going to want to go check this one out again. And I'm really glad that I got the 4K. So we just picked up these 4Ks from Studio Canal. I'm going to keep the Steelbook, and John's going to get the slipcover edition because this was just $12.50 on Amazon. It might still be $12.50 on Amazon. We'll put that link down in the description if you want to check that out. This is a Best Buy exclusive Steelbook, which is also not that expensive. You know, the Studio Canal ones by Lionsgate, they've been pretty cheap, and they've been really knocking these Steelbooks out of the park. They have the slipcover over the Steelbook, which is gorgeous. So you pull off the slipcover. Again, you have all the information on the back, the synopsis, the runtime, what's on each disc, the director. I love all that shit when it's on the back. That's the one thing. Like if the Steelbook came by itself, yeah, it's nice artwork, but I'd probably still go for the slipcover edition. But because of a slipcover on the Steelbook, sold. Sign me up. I'll take it. So once you pop off that really nice slipcover, we have some beautiful artwork on the inside. You got Sean Connery's character, Christopher Lambert's in there, there's Clancy Brown, and then a big portrait of Clancy Brown on the back from the olden times when he was the warrior back in the whatever age it was, the 1500s. So once you pop this bad boy open, there is 2 discs in here, and there is disc art, which is always a pleasure. Then we have just these little postcards type things. They're blank on the back, so I think they're just like little art cards. And so we have that one that's, I think, towards the end, right after he kills Kurgan. Just a portrait of him. Sean Connery. There's another one of him. This is like, he's got that trench coat like Kyle Reese wore in The Terminator. That's where I made that connection. And those are the 4 in there. It's just, you know, something you don't usually see in a Blu-ray release these days, especially something like this is not really a boutique label. This is like on the cusp of boutique, Studio Canal and Lionsgate. It's not quite like Scream Factory, Arrow Video, Criterion. So it's nice to see that. And I'll just show you off the slipcover edition real quick as well. Pop off that slipcover. Same artwork on the inside. And you still get all those postcards. Whoops. Sorry, John. You still get both those So you still get the postcards on the inside. And if you notice, the disc art is actually different on these than it is on the Steelbook edition, which is pretty cool because you would think it would just be the same discs. And even on the standard release, you'd think you wouldn't even get the second disc. So for $12.50, I think this is a steal. Now I want to say there is actually a really good amount of special features on the 4K disc itself, and then the Blu-ray has the movie and some more special features. This release is jam-packed. Both of these actually are the director's cut, so I don't know the difference between the theatrical and the director's. This is my first time seeing it, and I've only seen the director's cut. Visual quality. I think this one is more of a scene for scene, where some scenes I thought looked fantastic, where some didn't really quite impress me. None of them were terrible. Actually, there was one scene which looked like it just went to like standard definition and then kind of like zooms out into his eye. So I think they used like a weird lens and it was intended to look like that. But it was definitely noticeable. I was like, oh shit, that looks really, really bad. But I think that's just part of the movie. Again, I haven't seen this movie before, so I can't really compare it to previous viewings. But most of the scenes looked good. You know, I think the Dolby, because this does have Dolby Vision. So again, I think the Dolby Vision really helps it out because there's some really, really dark scenes and there's some very, very light scenes. But I think it was the perfect blend as far as like the lighting. It wasn't too blown out light. It wasn't too dark. There was no scenes where I really said, oh, this doesn't look good, I can't tell what's going on. I think they did a very good job with the scan. But again, just scene for scene, because some looked really good, where some looked okay. I don't have the previous Blu-ray to compare it to. I think it would be safe to say this is the definitive way to watch it as far as video goes. Now, let's talk audio, because I thought this was very strange. It only had a DTS 2.0 or a DTS 5.1 master audio. It sounded good, but you would think Dolby Vision, a new 4K release, why not go for the Atmos? I think this movie deserved an Atmos track. So I would take some points away for not giving us an Atmos track. However, I think the audio track still sounded fine. But again, missed opportunity. Could have got the Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos combo, and we would all have been happy. But I guess maybe it was a licensing thing, and DTS had the track. I don't know exactly how that works. Even if it was a DTS-X track, that would have been nice. So overall, I think it is a fantastic release, and definitely the definitive way to watch Highlander. If you're a fan of this, I would say probably go for the Steelbook because it's beautiful. But that $12.50 price for this, you know what? It is a super nice slipcover, and you can't really see it on the top. I'm surprised they didn't really at least add some coloring to it, but it says there can be only one, and it's on like a raised font, but you really can't see it. I just noticed the raise, and like kind of when you move it around, it'll reflect in the light a little bit. But I think if they would have done that in like maybe yellow like they did with the Highlander, it would have popped out a little bit more. But again, it's a nice slipcover. I like the metallic look that they did there. $12.50, you still get the 2 discs, the postcards. You really can't go wrong, but that is a super nice Steelbook as well. I think Lionsgate really have been knocking out of the park as far as the 4K Steelbooks they've been releasing with all the slipcovers. The T2 one was gorgeous, even though it was a terrible scan. Universal Soldier, Cabin in the Woods, so a lot of great Steelbooks coming out of Studio Canal lately, and Lionsgate. But overall, I think I would give this release somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe an 8 out of 10. You know, the visual quality was on the fence between good to great, you know, again, scene for scene basis. Audio, I think, was a bit of a miss. Not that it sounded bad, I just would have preferred an Atmos track to really immerse you into this, because there's scenes with like all that lightning and the sword fighting and just the battles they go into and stuff like that when they do the flashbacks. So I think an Atmos track would have been really nice if they did like a proper Atmos track. Although, again, the 5.1 did not sound terrible. Just would have preferred the Atmos track if you're going through all the trouble to do a new 4K scan with Dolby Vision anyway. Packaging, I love both releases, and especially for the price, you really can't go wrong. So if you're a fan of the movie, I can highly recommend picking this one up. If you guys want to pick this up, we'll put this slipcover version down in the description. This is an Amazon purchase. If you want to grab the Steelbook, you're going to have to head over to Best Buy, because that is a Best Buy exclusive, but we have an affiliates link with Amazon if you want to grab the slipcover edition. That helps us out at no extra cost to you. So if you guys like this review, please consider hitting the like or subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And until next time, guys,
There can be only one.
have a great day.